morning is from the Great Book of Matthew. Page 4 in your New Testament. This is chapter 5, the beginning, verses 1 through 12. The beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, which is going to be all of 5 through 7. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." This is the word of God for the people of God. So, we begin now the wonderful Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus gives some instruction to his disciples. It says there were crowds quite about, but when Jesus saw the crowds, he sat down and his disciples came to him, then he began to speak. So this is mostly for the people who are following Jesus than just the hangers-on who are sort of looking in or seeking. This is how one of Jesus' disciples should follow. And he begins to speak, and he gives them these Beatitudes. That's what we call them now. But basically he's saying these are acts of being blessed. What he's basically saying is, you are blessed to follow me. The blessing is not a promise of a future reward. It's a promise of a peace that's within you just as a matter of following Jesus. So he says all these things are going to happen to you. Remember Jesus, when he says, "Follow me," he doesn't say, "Follow me and jump on the happy wagon." He says, "Pick up your cross and follow me." He promises bad things will happen to you if you follow me, but you should have peace within them. And in verse 3, he gives us this first beatitude saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now, poor in spirit, that's a difficult one right at the beginning. It's like, oh, I don't want to be poor in spirit. I want to be rich in spirit. Well, a lot of these things are sort of upside down from what the world would want you to be. Poor in spirit is, you know that we all have a spirit, a humanity in us. And it's in the image of God, but it's got quite a lot of us in it too. They talk about that we have a propensity or a disposition to not be godlike. To be poor of spirit is to empty yourself of your own spirit. To take away anything that's holding you back from being godlike. When you empty yourself, that's the way of God being able to fill up. So it's emptying of ourselves of our own desires, of our own way of wanting to do things. And what is the reward for this? Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is another thing this is not some lofty pie-in-the-sky goal that we're going to get later. Theirs is, not will be, the kingdom of heaven. Jesus said he came to bring the kingdom of heaven on earth. Verse 4, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." I think this has a couple of different things. It's those who are going through uncomfortable things. Those who are going through sad times. It gets better. But also, for those who are followers of Jesus, those who want God's way, they look at this world and realize that we're in this world, but not of this world. And sorry, Reverend Clyde, I'm jumping on to some of your thing for next week possibly, but we are to be in this world, but not of it. When we mourn, we don't only mourn for something bad that happened to us. We mourn because we look at the world through God's eyes and say, look at this world. Look at how fallen it is. But he says, don't worry. You will be comforted. Verse 5, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. The world looks at meekness as a negative. When I teach students how to drive their cars for their driving test, I say you want to be assertive. You even want borderline on aggressive. The ones who fail the test are the ones who are meek, the ones who are timid. More people fail the driving test for going too slow than for going too fast. But the meekness God is talking about is to not resist oppression, but to suffer it willingly. To not have that urge for vengeance, to get back at somebody who did you wrong. To suffer willingly is to be meek. Not because you're powerless or because you are afraid, but just to be God-like. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. We're not supposed to do it ourselves. Jesus tells us a little bit later about giving your coat to somebody who takes your shirt, about turning the other cheek. There's a lot of theological ideas in there. But blessed are the meek. What do you get for being meek? Oh, you will inherit the earth. How strange. If you don't do what the earth wants you to do, you end up getting it. Their way will not last. Verse 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Righteousness is, as Dan was talking earlier about Micah, it's justice. It's doing what's right, but it's also giving others what they deserve. So if somebody literally deserves something, you give it to them. Whether that's positive or negative, that's justice. Sometimes we have to, in our society, give punishment or rehabilitation. But we also make sure to give people the positive things they need rather than overlooking them. And it says, if you hunger and thirst for righteousness, you will be filled. Guess what? Everything will be justice at the end. Verse 7 goes hand in hand with this. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. So this is different than righteousness. Righteousness is giving somebody what they deserve. Mercy is giving somebody what they don't deserve. So for example, somebody may deserve a punishment, for example, and you give that to them. But what they may not deserve is your love and your understanding that goes along with that. So in addition to giving justice, you temper it with mercy. And they go hand in hand. And Micah would add in, and walk humbly with your God. And that's what all of these are. They're being in line in a right relationship with God. Number 8, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. What is pure? Is it ivory? How clean is ivory soap? 99, 44, 100? There's something in there that's not pure, right? What is pure gold? They say pure gold is 99.999. It's still not pure. Pure is 100%. So what is pure in heart? 100% in line with what God wants. In God's relationship, how he wants to deal with you and how he wants you to deal with other people. What is your benefit for that? For they will see God. We're getting closer now to understanding this God that is far removed from us, but we can come and approach God. Verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. This world fights. There are many wars. When we work against the wars of this world and work on peace, we're working for God's way and not the world's way. We're trying to counter them. And the reward for that is we will be called children of God. We're getting closer and closer here. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This goes along with the first one, is poor in spirit. This one has the same promise. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This isn't just being persecuted for the sake of being persecuted. This is not being bullied or ridiculed for no reason at all. It says for righteousness' sake. Persecuted for being different. Persecuted for for not going with the flow of the sinful world, for following God rather than the world. Jesus promises, you will have troubles. You will have persecution. And then at the end, he says, blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are not alone. You're not the first one that they talked smack about. You're not the first one who they persecuted, who they said bad things about. Standing up for God requires a sacrifice. There's a cost involved. But you know that when you pay for something, you get something in return. You don't just give your money away, or your time away, or your life in this case. What do you get? He says, rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So, the thought I'd like to leave you with is, blessed means happy. It's not, you will be blessed in the future. It's like, when these things happen to you, be happy now. Don't put it off and wait for things to get better. That's what following Jesus is for. It's to give us a peace now. The kingdom of heaven is here. So you have a reward coming. So be happy in all circumstances and situations. Not just because you have a future reward coming, but because you are blessed here today. Amen. And there's a picture of Jesus giving the Sermon on the Mount. Our hymn of response, number 2155, Blessed